Suho noticed they were also smaller, like sad, shrunken versions of their former selves. The system also informed him that they would disappear after a day unless he had a skill like shadow storage to keep them around. Seeing Suho's disappointment, Beru quickly added that shadow abilities were influenced by level and intelligence, which this dumbass thoroughly lacks, meaning this seemingly pathetic skill would eventually become incredibly powerful. Cheered up by the prospect of future badassery, Suho decided it was time to leave, especially since he hadn't eaten in 2 days and was starting to fantasize about the hospital's questionable cafeteria food. Later, back in his hospital room, Suho was practically vibrating with joy as he sat before a warm tray of food, convinced it was the most delicious thing he had ever tasted. As he savored the meal, Beru stepped forward, his tone solemn as he outlined their next tasks. They had 3 missions. First, they had to protect Earth from otherworldly beasts, which Suho quickly realized was a fancy way of saying they needed to go dungeon diving and hunt monsters. Beru confirmed this, explaining that as Suho hunted, his level would increase, and as he grew stronger, Earth would become safer, just like his father had done. The second mission was to find his mother by any means necessary. Suho asked if there was any way to track her down, and Beru replied that if they kept hunting the beasts sent by the outer gods, they might eventually stumble upon a clue. The only way forward was to dive headfirst into the dungeons. The third mission was especially important, helping Beru regain his full strength. He wanted to unleash his true power, and to do that, he needed a power-up. Beru explained that he could absorb a target's magical power and knowledge by eating them. It was an inefficient method compared to when he was alive, but since he couldn't directly leech mana from Suho, cannibalizing monsters was the only option. So basically, Suho concluded, we need to keep going into dungeons. After finishing his meal, Suho stood up, ready for action. Beru added one small detail. To enter dungeons officially, Suho needed a hunter qualification, which meant a trip to the Hunter Association to get his magical power measured. Suho nodded thoughtfully, his mind already racing. As someone who had awakened and was growing stronger by the minute, what rank would he get? An S rank? Maybe even higher? At the association, a staff member measured Suho's magical power and announced, with all the enthusiasm of someone reading a grocery list, that it was 46, making him an E rank awakened, the lowest of the low. Suho stepped outside, the weight of the pathetic result pressing down on him. Beru gently explained that hunter ranks were based almost entirely on magical power. Since Suho had been dumping all his stat points into everything but magic, it was only natural his rank would be lower than his actual abilities. Suho asked if an E-rank loser like him could really protect the Earth. Beru calmly reminded him that he was the young monarch and had a literal level-up system. Ranks were for peasants. He then recalled how difficult life was for E and F rank hunters. Suddenly, his eyes brightened. He had an idea. Dungeon raids were split into teams: the assault team, the recovery team, and the mining team. The recovery and mining teams could be supported by E rank hunters. It was his ticket in. That was how Suho found himself wiping sweat from his brow inside a dungeon, standing next to Lim Do-kyun, his former art instructor, who was also an E rank. Suho thanked Lim for the opportunity, explaining that he had only recently awakened. Lim, however, was wrestling with a mountain of guilt, apologizing for being a coward during the university incident. He had run away, feeling powerless. Suho, sensing his guilt, reassured him. "You're also an E-rank. The Hunter Association advises hunters like us to flee with all our might if we encounter dangerous beasts." Lim looked up, surprised. "Wait, you're only E-rank?" Suho nodded calmly. "My magical power is 46. It's low even for an E-rank." Lim blinked, unable to believe it. He remembered seeing Suho fighting a beast on the rooftop, while everyone else was running for their lives. The fact that an E-rank had not only survived but had charged headfirst into danger was beyond impressive. At that moment, Beru appeared beside them, speaking in a tone that only Suho could hear. "The young monarch is, indeed, exceptional." Lim turned, and his brain promptly short-circuited. His eyes locked onto Beru, and pure, primal fear gripped him. He stumbled backward, his voice a choked shout as he screamed at a monster. Suho shot Beru an annoyed glance, silently asking, "Why the hell did you suddenly appear, you idiot?" Baru replied in Suho's mind. The monarch is as weak as a larva. I must stay close to ensure his safety. Lim stared, his mind struggling to process the scene. Did you awaken as a summoner-type hunter? Suho, deciding to just roll with it, nodded. Lim chuckled nervously. Well, you're lucky. Most E-ranks don't get any skills. All I got was a running skill. Suho smirked. That explains why you escaped so well back then. Lim's face darkened, but Suho quickly added with a grin, I'm just joking. As Beru complimented Suho again, Suho looked around, realizing this was his first time in a real dungeon. He wondered if the assault team was having any fun up ahead. Deep within the dungeon, the assault team was, in fact, not having much fun at all. They had just cut down the last of the beasts, and one of them let out a weary sigh. The dungeon felt unusually empty, and all they had encountered were wolf-type beasts. Another chimed in, pointing out that even low-tier beasts could have magic crystals, so they had to press on. The captain, trying to rally his troops, reminded them they wouldn't know what lay at the end until they got there. Suddenly, a shout came from behind. Captain, there's something in the side path. The captain stepped forward, his eyes narrowing as he saw there in front of him an ancient, massive ruin standing silently in the darkness. The entire team gathered, staring in hushed awe. Their detection skills were completely blank. The silence, the lack of beasts, and the mysterious structure only deepened their unease. Some speculated that the ruins held treasure instead of a boss. As they searched, their eyes were drawn to a single object, an old sword stuck in the ground, partially buried in rubble. The captain stepped closer and said, We'll need to appraise it first, but judging by its aura, this weapon could be incredibly valuable. He warned them that treasures like this often came with traps, but one man, a confident C-rank tank named Kim Yong-jin, brushed off his concerns and said, Even if it's trapped, I can handle it. Without another word, he grasped the sword. The blade immediately began to glow with a crimson aura, and an overwhelming pressure filled the air. The ground beneath them turned red, as if it were bleeding, and the earth itself shuddered as eyes began to open all across the floor. And yet, Kim Yong-jin, the absolute dumbass, pulled the sword free. The captain let out a relieved breath. It looks like there were no traps after all. His words trailed off as he looked into Kim Yong-jin's eyes, now glowing with a malevolent red light. Without warning, Kim Yong-jin turned on the captain and swung the sword, slicing clean through him. Everyone froze in shock as Kim Yong-jin, now clearly possessed, declared in a voice that was not his own, Who dares claim the Fang Monarch's blade? A voice, cold and ancient, echoed in Kim Yong-jin's mind. Kill the intruders who dare enter the Fang Lord's territory. Kill them all. As the C-rank tank began his bloody rampage, the support team, blissfully unaware, was having its own moment of confusion. 3 goblin-like shadows were mining magic crystals with a speed and precision that was frankly disturbing. Lim stared, his brain struggling to comprehend what he was seeing. He'd heard of summoners, but they usually maxed out at 1 or 2 creatures, but Suho had 3 goblins, plus the giant, terrifying ghost knight that had appeared earlier. That made 4. It was unheard of. Suho stood nearby, reflecting on his powers. Shadow extraction was supposed to require fresh corpses, but he'd found a workaround, using the goblin remains from his own personal pocket dimension. They were perfect for simple labor, and best of all, they didn't complain. Shadow extraction is really convenient, Suho murmured to himself. Beru responded gruffly in his mind, Please do not praise me while assigning me grunt work, young monarch. His tone turned serious as he said, We came here to level up, not to run a mining operation. Suho nodded. He was planning to power level and then request a reevaluation from the Hunter Association. He also hadn't forgotten their secondary goal, restoring Barus's strength. Scattered across the cave floor were fragments of low-grade magic stones. Looking at them, he said, They might help restore your power, nudging a few toward Baru with his foot. Eat up. Baru complied, but as he chewed on the crystal shards, his body tensed. He froze, turning to Suho. He said, I just sensed the presence of a monarch. Suho's heart skipped a beat. You mean my father? Baru shook his head. If it were your father, my power would have been fully restored on the spot. This presence is different. His eyes narrowed as he scanned the dungeon's energy. It's probably the beast monarch. Back near the entrance, a miner stiffened as a deep rumble echoed from the tunnel the assault team had entered. He turned slowly, and from the shadows, 3 blood-red eyes opened, glowing with ominous intent. A monstrous beast, its form cloaked in thick shadows, stepped forward, its eyes glowing with bloodlust, and its jagged teeth gleaming beneath a snarl. Panic rippled through the miners. One of them, in a moment of pure, idiotic desperation, swung his pickaxe at the creature. The beast caught it in its jaws and shattered the metal like a twig. The man stumbled backward, paralyzed by fear. Then a shot blurred between them. Suho surged forward, wielding his own pickaxe, and with a sharp swing, struck the creature across the head, forcing it back just long enough to create some space. Then he turned to the miners and told them to evacuate. The miner didn't need to be told twice, turned, and ran for their life. Suho squared his stance, his eyes locked on the beast as its oppressive aura thickened the air. He recognized it, a